Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to our BOS Masterclass live classes. And I also take this opportunity to inform you all that these live classes are also available to you on recording mode. Also, most importantly, you have to be very much available regularly, because the more you are available online live, it will help you a lot when you are actually doing your self studies. So I'll request that you all be present as far as possible, maximum in the live classes, even though recordings are available. Now, going to the next very important point, when we talk about our course, CA course, specifically at the inter level. Dear students, please understand and appreciate one thing. Our actual CA syllabus starts here. And when I say our actual CA syllabus starts here, what I mean is, even though you all did foundation, the foundation was just the preparatory part, just for testing whether are you ready for the CA course or not. Our actual CA syllabus, our actual CA content is here. And when I'm saying this, it is here. What I mean by this is that you all have to have a very separate, a very specific approach to this particular level of the CA course. See, CA course, many times students ask me, sir, is it difficult? Sir, can we or will we be able to clear it? Will we be able to crack it? So to this, dear students, my answer is very simple. See, it is not about whether it is easy or difficult. It is not about in what attempt you will be able to crack it. It is more about your approach towards the studies and your attitude towards the exams. I have always realized when I was studying and since the time I'm related to academics that many times it is the approach and the attitude which fails you. We are many times approaching our exams more like our college exams, more like our other academic exams, where our intent, our focus is only on preparing for the exams and getting passed. Here, students, I will request that firstly, this is not any other academic course. It is not a course where you are doing it only for getting that qualification or degree. Rather, this is a course which is going to be your livelihood. This is going to be your career. This is going to be your prestige. If this is so, then the first most important point about the approach that we should have is that when you are approaching to a professional course like chartered accountancy, your approach should not be limited only to cracking the exams. Which generally our approach is, we always look at the subjects, we always attend the classes with only one single perspective in mind, that I need to know what is required to clear the exams. With that approach, you may clear, but that will not help you in your career. If you are making this course as your livelihood, as your prestige, then it is very important that you look beyond mere passing. Then what is the approach that is required? See, I always say that chartered accountants, if I have to compare it with any other profession, it is like doctors of taxation. It is like scientists of subjects like FM and costing. It is like researchers of subjects like your indirect tax, your direct tax. It is like the top level experts of subjects like accounting, auditing. It is like a lawyer for the subjects of law. So, what I mean to say is that is the depth of knowledge which is required. Just take it for an example. You go to a doctor for a particular problem that you are going through, some disease, some type of illness, and the doctor is unable to handle your case properly. Why? Because he studied limited only to the extent of passing the exam. Or you go to a lawyer with a critical case where you are badly stuck in some legal pursuit, and he is not able to advise you, he is not able to handle your case properly. Rather, because of his limited exam approach knowledge, which gave him the degree, he actually spoils your case, and that leads to a very big financial loss. Just imagine these scenarios. That happens when we are approaching to exams only with the mindset of passing. So instead, since we have a good, decent time frame to prepare and even to crack both groups in the first attempt, my earnest request is have a proper approach, have a systematic way of doing things, of preparing for your exams, and I assure you, you will get the best of the results, not only in exams, but in your entire career. Now, what should be this approach? The approach should be, I always say, it should be a self-help approach. What do I mean by self-help? See, when you are coming to the classes, I always request students that you already know the schedule of the class, what is going to be taught in which lecture. I always say that please come beforehand reading the topic that you are going to attend in the next class. I understand, like today, we are going to start with costing. You may not have any idea of what costing is. I very well understand and appreciate this. But let me tell you, students, this is where, in fact, the self-help approach helps more. When you are reading the subject by yourself, first, before you attend the class, what happens is your dimension towards the subject is much different. Many times, when you directly come to the class, like for example, you have come today, what is happening? Your mind right now is closed. Closed in the sense it is only ready to hear something from the faculty and only to store. But at this level, when this particular course is going to be your repute, this particular course will take you to the highest level in your career, in your life, in your society, in the market, if I have to say, then you cannot be only a person who is taking data and storing it. You will reach the highest level when you are able to interpret the data, when you are able to process the data. And for that, a different approach is required from the start. If right now you develop this attitude, what I'm trying to say, self-help, what will happen more is when you do this for different subjects, your mindset will develop for the future career prospects. So, simply what you have to do, come to the class, well read about that topic which will be taken up in that particular class. You have all the modules available on our portal. You can download it. Okay, some may not be updated. It will be under the process of revision. That is okay. That is hardly one or two modules which are having regular revision. That is what is a taxation module. That also we always make the best attempt that by the time our classes start, we are keeping it updated. But as you know, many changes are yet to happen. Our exams always cater to changes that have happened in the past 6 months before your exam starts. So till that much time, we will be updating the module. But besides that, even keeping that aside, even if you read a subject without those few amendments, that will not change anything in understanding of the subject. So come to the class well read about that topic. Now, when I'm saying well read, I'm not saying well understood because you may not understand what you're reading. It is very fine. But when I say well read, what I mean by that is well read means that you read the topic, and whenever you are reading that topic, for example, our today's topic of costume. In fact, I will start today by the self-help approach only so that I will give you an idea how you should read all other subjects and all other topics. So we will do that way only. What I mean by well read is read the topic with this simple approach that I want to understand where and how this topic is used in the business, is used in the industry, is used in the real life. Now, when you approach any topic with this perspective, that I want to know how it is used in real life, then whatever you are reading, again, I say, you may not understand everything, but when you have read something, you have understood some part of it, that understanding may be wrong. When after that you come to the class, your mind is in a different zone, it is at a different tangent. What is that different tangent? Now you are not attending the class only to hear and store. You are attending the class to match your understanding with the teacher's understanding. You are attending the class already with some questions ready. Okay, I read this, I did not understand what it means. I read this, but I could not figure out how it fits in the real world scenario where this concept is used. What is the impact of this concept? When this particular mindset develops, which is empty, I'm not saying you have understood, but the point is now your mindset, your entire thought process is more structured, is more specific. Now, with these questions, with these doubts, maybe with some misunderstandings in mind, when you are listening to the course, automatically your focus is more. Otherwise, in a 2.5 hour class, I'm sure after 30, 45 minutes, the mind starts draining out. You start looking at your WhatsApp, you start looking at Insta, you start being here and there. Maybe if you are in some hostel or in some other place where there is distraction, this will not happen when your mind is more curious. That happens when you have already read, when you already have your different challenges in reading, your doubts, your questions, your misunderstandings. So, first thing that will happen with this self help approach is your mind will be more focused. Most important than focus is second important thing, that when you have come read, you are already ready with questions. You are more eager to understand the concepts because you have not understood correctly when you were reading. You are not able to match it with real life world. So now your thought process will be more directed in understanding those things, and you will be able to most importantly ask questions. And let me tell you, the more you involve in these lectures, the more you interact with the faculty, the more you ask the questions, you will find suddenly the subject, which may otherwise be very technical, so-called difficult in the language of you students, has become suddenly very interesting for you, has suddenly become more retainable for you. Because many times in our course, the biggest challenge is retaining so much of data, so much of the content. But when you are approaching the class with this particular mindset of listening, with the intent of matching what you have understood, not understood, with the intent of filling in the gaps that have come to your mind while reading, with the intent of understanding its applicability in the real life world, different type of mindset is created, which helps you in getting the data filled in properly, getting the data filled in permanently. You try this approach, you will suddenly find that even if you try to read it again after 2 weeks or a week gap or 10 days gap, or if you are discussing with someone, let us say suddenly someone puts up a question to you, the answer to that or the understanding to that point will click faster because you have not just come here and sat in a passive mode. Your mind was more active, rather, your mind was more in a questioning mode. So, my earnest request is, let us start this with a different mindset, with a different approach, and let us be proactive, which I'm calling as the self-help approach. And how that will happen, just have a read of the topic, that is your content. Then comes the second most important point about our course and our curriculum is regular practice. This is where I have seen many students miss the bus or many students make a mistake. Like when you are starting this curriculum, for example, today we are starting costing, also you would have started with other subjects in this week. You are very enthusiastic because it is something new. But the moment it starts gathering momentum, the moment the subjects are adding, the technicalities is adding, suddenly, somewhere in between, you lose the track. Why? Either because it is getting heavy on you, or either because you are getting diverted or distracted to other things. And this is where, once you lose the track, once you lose that interest, suddenly your career graph, or rather, I'll say, firstly, the study graph starts declining. And by the time you come closer to your exams or to your last 3 months of final exam prep, by that time, you have totally lost the control over the subjects. Now, this should not happen because then it also affects your confidence. It also affects your attitude towards the exam. So, what is the second most important requirement is, make it a point that after every lecture is over, you will take down your note points, maybe during the lecture or even after the lecture is over, about what are the key points according to you of that topic. If it is a practical sum that has happened, note down in the sum what were the points which you found very challenging to understand, Maybe you have not yet understood also after the faculty explaining, mark those points. What you felt are important for exams, which you need to revise at exams, mark those points. So first, on the understanding level, take down pointers of those important points which you feel are important. From the understanding point of view, wherever required, make a marking in the module along with maybe taking out the notes. And from the practical perspective, make a note of all those important adjustments, important calculations, which either you found very challenging or you feel are very critical for you to revise and recall at the exam stage. Now, once you have done this note making, which will happen or which should happen either during the class or immediately after the class, not beyond that, then make a schedule by which now you know the schedule of the classes for the whole week. Now on the weekends, make a schedule that every weekend you will take out 6 to 8 hours minimum, where you will just do a brisk revision of all these pointers that you had marked during the whole week of all different subjects. Now, when you do this, make a note, students. I can again assure you this with 100% guarantee that if you are following this and if you are completing firstly the notes taking during the class or immediately after that, and then immediately after the completion of the class, you are at the end of the week revising whatever was done in that week. The concepts, whatever is the level of difficulty, technicality, will remain with you. You will be able to retain it for a longer period of time. Now, once the weeks starts advancing, automatically your syllabus that is covered in the class is increasing. Make a note. See, the classes time is limited. What is very important is that after you have understood something in the class, you have to make a point of practicing it additionally besides whatever is done in the class. So extra practice is very, very, very important. If it is theory, the practice should be of writing out at least once the whole question and answer so that you have the writing practice. And then once you have written out the whole question answer once, then after that regularly revising. This is the practice for theory. Practice for practical sums is, besides all the sums in our module, you have past exam sums, you have the past MTPs, RTPs, everything is hosted, everything is available free for download on our BOS portal. Kindly make different folders in your laptops where for each subject, chapter wise, you have one folder. In that chapter wise folder, you will have firstly the module and you will have these downloaded material. And then make it a point that regularly, periodically, you will solve 1, 1, 2, 2 sums of the topics that are completed in the class. So automatically, even though something is completed 1 month back, if I've solved 1 or 2 sums now on some weekend, that much is sufficient for me to be connected with that topic. Maybe at that time, if you feel you are not able to recall everything, you have already taken some notes, you can refer that. Still, if you feel I do not recall anything, you have the recorded versions. You can go to the portal and you can see the recorded lectures, maybe at 1.5x speed to save your time. So this is how you can assure to get the best result in the first attempt itself. So CA course is more about a structured approach, more about a disciplined approach, and more about the futuristic career approach. If you have these three things in mind, the approach that you will be having will be giving you the best of the results. So this is some very important introductory point I thought I will discuss with you in my first class before I start taking up the subject. Now, when I will start taking up the subject, I will also give you the self-help approach, which you should have whenever you are studying any other chapter or any other subject, right? Now, let us first have some discussion. So I have some names in my chat box. So yes, good morning, Mosam, Sampada, Mohammed Parvez, Yukta, Priyanka, and you are Sualeh. Sule. Nice, something different. Yes, Medha Singh, Sujal, Aditya is asking, is there any change in the costing material? No, beta, you can definitely refer to the old material. There is no major change. And if there are some additional questions to be added, you can always come back and see the material, but there won't be much because there are no amendments. Yes, Sunil, Kevin Namdev, it is what? Akharshita. Wow. I hope I have pronounced it correctly. It is Akharshita. Yes, good morning, Rohan, Uday, Kumar, Sumit 19. Wow. Shreya, Abdan, Manisha, Abhisha, Saumya. No worries, Mohammed. Even if you're direct entry, that is fine. There are different students, many students who are from direct entry. No worries. Okay, so let me know what is the correct pronunciation, beta. Yes, good morning, Silesh, Kavita, Krishna Shri. Wow. Mohan, Kabyajit Chakrabarti. I hope I have pronounced it correctly. Rajitha, Nandini, Rishabh, Amod, Tanu Vishwakarma, and Varalakshmi. Yes, good morning to all. Ha, Rohan is asking a very nice question to me. He's saying, out of all the chapters we are going to cover, which one you find most challenging to teach? Wow. So it is the reverse. Instead of teacher testing the students, here students are testing the teacher. Wow. So we are going to have a great time ahead. Rohan, I'll tell you which chapter I find most challenging to teach. In fact, let me tell you, out of different subjects which I teach, taxation, costing are my most favorite subjects only because they are challenging to teach. But for me, the teaching becomes more challenging and difficult when my students are not responding. So if you are responding, then I assure you, you will understand and enjoy the most. And I will also be very much engrossed in the subject. And the more we both are engrossed, the results are going to be too fun. Fine. Okay. So yes, good morning, Jeffin, Ritik, Manisha. Manisha, yes, answering your question, in CMA, this particular subject of cost and management accounting, we have numericals more, but there is allotted theory also, which will also help you in getting marks in exams. So, okay, so I can address you as Nasri. Fine. Great. Good morning. Yes, Suraj. Yes, I'm also excited, Sumit. Okay, someone HP is asking me a question. So HP, firstly, I'll request that you put your real name. I like to address students with their names. His question is, sir, sometimes I don't know why I'm afraid of exams. And in my mind, negative thoughts come about exams, how to overcome from this thought. So HP, you first revise your name, but I would like to answer this. See, I qualified CA in the year 2002, November attempt. Now, since then, you can just count how many number of years it is. So now we are in 2025. So up to November 2024, I've already completed 22 years, right? Still, you will not believe, students, even today, in a span of 6 months, I get one dream. That dream is tomorrow is my exam and I'm not prepared. Another dream which I get is I'm going to the exam and I have missed something which is very important, which may be a calculator or even the pen or my hall ticket. Another dream which I get is that tomorrow are my results and I'm really nervous because I don't understand whether I will pass or not because I've written the exams very badly. So don't worry, whoever is having that fear, I always feel because see, today also when I'm taking this lecture, before the start of the lecture, I'm also a bit nervous, even though this may be my 500th session on the same topic, on the same chapter. But still, that nervousness, that fear, I believe is good because it keeps you on your toes. The moment you are not having any fear, many times it leads to complacency. So if you have fear, no worries. Second thing about fear or being afraid is, or as you rightly pointed out, negative thoughts is that since childhood, somewhere, whenever we have taken up some challenging things, people around us have always said that no, you cannot do this. No, this is out of your league. No, you are not meant for this. So I think it is more because of the negative hammerings that we have gone through. Now, I have also gone through the same challenges. I also used to have people around me who used to say, you cannot pass, you are an average student in school and college, you cannot become a CA in the first attempt, forget about first attempt, you cannot become a CA. So those things always had an impact. But see, somehow students, I am very much inspired, that you'll get to know during my teaching. I'm inspired one by cricket. I'm inspired the other thing that is by movies, specifically South Indian movies. Now, what I really like about both these two things is, even if you watch the South Indian movies, even till date, forget about the earlier ones, they were anyways superb. Earlier ones, Bollywood movies were also superb. But if you watch these movies even today, they always have lot of value in that. They always have the heroes playing a character role, not even heroes, even the other artists playing the character role. And they have always taught us one thing, what I really liked even about the Bollywood movies of the Amitabh Bachchan times, that they have always taught me one thing, that things are challenging around you, things may become very worse, but if you hold your nerve, if you hold on your values, and if you keep working hard, you will always emerge as the hero of your life and your career. Same thing I learn a lot from cricket matches. That many times in the cricket, you will find that a team has lost and they have bounced back. Or in the match itself, it was a very bad situation. If you remember the World Cup, which we won, I think 1 year or 2 years back, in the finals, we had virtually lost the match because that South African batter, Kenson, I'm forgetting his name again. He was playing in such a fashion, and the run rate required by them was so low that we had virtually lost the match. But then there was a small gap, and in that gap, we broke their momentum and we bounced back. So, what I learn, I keep on taking from these movies and these matches is always that maybe things are negative, maybe people around you are always going to press you down, but you have to hold on to your values first. You have to continue with the discipline, and most important, you have to continue with the belief that yes, I am the one who will change the world, at least for myself and my family and the people who are around. And if you watch any of the movies of the earlier Amitabh Bachchan time and even today's South Indian movies, they always show this. They never show that the heroes are already someone outstanding. They show that all heroes have come from a very low or a very humble background. Some have come in a very bad situation, but still they made it to the best. Take these things from these movies, take the fighting spirit from the matches, and see how it works wonders. Yes, Sampada, Pavan, Anil, Nagaratna, Bhani, you are asking how many years of question paper should we take? See, minimum you should take 10 papers. So it is roughly 5 years. But if you refer to other materials like RTPs, MTPs, so even if you go back last 2, 3 years and take all this material, it will be more than 15, 16 set. So that should be sufficient. See, basically, it is not how many questions you are preparing, because it may happen that if you go for too much of questions, you may not complete all subjects, because you will be then spending more time in those subjects which are interesting, and somewhere the others would be sidelined. So instead of what we are saying, instead of going for too much, first attempt to solve at least 4 to 5 sets of question papers of every subject. Once you complete 4 or 5 for every subject, add two more. If you complete that for every subject, add two more. Basically, the purpose of these question papers is one, giving you the real exam feel ki what type of questions are there in exam, and also most importantly, giving you the variety. Once you do practice of variety, and once you are thorough with the variety, that is sufficient. Only see, practice is for two things. One, practice is for getting to know what are the different possibilities of adjustments, of question length, of the difficulty. And second, The purpose of this practice is to increase your speed and accuracy in exam, because we have to complete the paper. You may know 100 marks paper, that is not sufficient. You should be able to complete the 100 marks paper. In fact, when I'll be talking in some lecture on the exam approach, I always say that first do not hit 100, first hit 80. That your first approach should be, I will complete 80 perfect. And let me tell you, our exams are not like college or BCom exams where writing more will give you marks. Our exams are professional exams, precision exams. Writing perfect will give you marks. So my first approach will be 80. Now, then what will happen? Different students will have different comfort with different subjects. I may have more comfort with practical. Somebody may have more comfort with theory. Some may have within practical more comfort with taxation and accounting, but less with costing and FM, or vice versa. So there would be different combinations. So what I will do is, subjects where I have more command, more control, I will aim 100. But where I'm less control, I'll aim 80. So these are some exam point of view that we'll discuss later on. Today, I don't want to go to exam approach immediately. Yes, Aditya. So majorly, except taxes, there are not much amendments. So you can refer those material. In fact, for tax also, please refer to the material that will help you. That's great, Amod. If I keep on getting replies, it will be great for everyone. Yes, yes, yes. Everybody remember one thing. It is not important that you respond in English. You can respond in Hindi or in any other language. Even if I don't understand, now we have so many AI tools, I'll convert it and understand what you're asking. So don't worry, but be more responsive, be more attentive. Language is not a barrier for me. You can ask the question in your language. Okay. Yes, yes, I'll keep on discussing how to approach exams. I'll keep on giving you some important pointers, Yukta, so that will benefit all of you. Yes, how many hours do we need to practice costing? See, I will say it is not about only costing. It is about you doing regular practice of every subject right now till the time you are studying these subjects. Once the classes are over and you are in the last 3 or 4 months of your exams, during that time, Sampada, you should target the subjects where you want to score better, as I said, with which you have more comfort. And at that time, you will be allocating more time for those subjects so that you can score and excel more, because those are your strengths. Right now, I will say that don't fix up any time for any particular subject now, because you have to pass all these subjects. So give a proper time. When I say proper, it does not mean equal, because some subjects may be done faster because they are simpler. Some may require time because they are technical or new for you. So you have to keep a balance. There is no fixed rule of how much hours you have to dedicate to each subject. But right now, till the classes are going on, until you are studying these subjects, have a proportional, a rational time allocation for every subject. Study, practice everything. Targeting for full marks or maximum marks, that we will decide in the last 3 months after all subjects syllabus is over, so that you will have a more proper idea as to where you need to focus on. 23 going. I did not understand this. Anil is saying, sir, can we get good knowledge with CMA? 100% better. Our materials are superb. But yes, where you feel you are getting stuck up because the question level is too high, you are not able to comprehend. In that case, you can take any market book which starts from very basic to advanced, so that you will have a better understanding of the subject. So where you are stuck up, maybe in costing or FM, because these two are very new subjects, obviously technical, and since they are practical, if you find suddenly that taking up our exam problems is too heavy for any of these subjects, go to market. There are very good author books in the market. You take up those books. What they will do is they will start with very basic to advanced. Obviously every class also will be done that way, but since we have limitation of time, we cannot spend more time on all basics part. We have to go to the exam level part. So if you feel you personally require more practice on any subject, take up some practice book from the market and use that. So that you can do. Krishna, for that we'll have to discuss separately. Shreya, sir, there are too many formula in question. Don't worry. Even if there are formulas, Shreya, let me tell you, students, you will have many formulas in different subjects like accounts, like costing, even in some cases in few of the chapters of tax, and definitely FM. But remembering these formulas would not be a big challenge if you understand the logic and the derivation of these formulas. So 80% of the formulas have a very understandable logic. Yes, 20% formulae are out of, means they have logic, but for us, comprehending in such a short time may not be possible. So for them, you can rectify those formulae, but that will be hardly 10-20%. And that also will change from student to student who will find which subject formula more difficult. That you may rectify. But other than that, you should try to go to the logic of the formula. Sir, if possible, please use Hinning. Acha, Hindi and English for better understanding. Yes, no worries, beta. I'll be doing that, Ravi. But the challenge is that there may be some students who may not understand Hindi completely. But don't worry, it is my natural flow. Whatever I speak, it will come naturally. Wherever required, I will also speak Hindi. I will also speak English, will be anyways our common medium of discussion. So don't worry, you may ask questions in Hindi. Whatever you not understood, I will explain in Hindi again. Uday Kumar, see, you go to college, you cannot attend live class. My humble request is please attend live classes. I don't know how much critical your college attendance is, but I believe CA is our main bread and butter course. It is the main course which will shape your career and your entire family's future. So my personal understanding is if college is not that critical, kindly be more live here and college you can attend one of the days. Please do that. Beta, somebody is saying I'm average student. I'll tell you, I have till date scored highest 74% marks in my entire academics, right from school to college. Still, I was able to crack CA exam in my first attempt, inter both groups. So don't worry, there will not be such a big challenge like average or very talented student. Our course require dedication. Our course require, as I mentioned at the start, 20 minutes proper approach. And that can make student like you and me who are so-called average toppers, not even toppers academically, but toppers in your real life. Sir, is will paper have theory questions also? I think you are asking, is this paper have? Yes, there are allocated theory marks. Kavya. Nagar is asking how many years of question paper? I think I've answered this. Shilesh is asking, sir, Klassen. Yes, it was Klassen. I'm bad at recalling names. Mosam is saying, sir, I'm not taken any coaching. That's why this doubt came into mind and fear of exams. No worries, Peda. Now you're taking this live classes. Now this is more than sufficient. We have such a best team of faculties for every subject. You will find it the most complete coaching. And that also our institute is doing free for students. There is nothing like this. So don't worry, Beda. This will be sufficient. Even if you have not taken classes, that will not affect. You will pass through. Rishabh, please tell us how to write answers in exam. That we'll be doing better, Rishabh. Today, everything cannot be done. If I give too much today, it will be going above the head. So we will take it as and when the time comes, how to write exams, what should be our writing patterns, everything. Mon is asking, sir, is sufficient in English is mandatory? Good question. See, I don't know whether you all will agree to this, but there was a time that even when I was doing C, I was not so good at English. But then somebody made me realize you are not good at English in what? One is speaking English or understanding and writing English. I later on understood it was more my challenge with speaking, which today I have overcome maybe because of speaking a lot. But is the challenge of English at the speaking level, then don't worry, it will not affect your CA exams. But if the challenge of English at the understanding level, when you're reading something in English at that time, or when you want to write it in exams, if that is the challenge, then yes, it is important that your English should be good. It is not important that you should be somebody like who is that Congress leader who speaks superlative English words. So that English we do not require. But yes, you require the basic decent English to have understanding of what you're reading, and also so that you are able to at least write in the English in your exams, which the paper checker will understand. If you write something which I'm not able to understand what you want to say, how will I give you marks? And anyways, see, when you are doing practicals, English will not affect because practicals, what you write like to buy this account, that account, or writing that we are preparing a statement of reconciliation does not require any superlative English. That You can even do with your average English. But when you're writing theory papers, you need better than average English. Your English understanding firstly should be correct so that you can understand what is written in the books, modules, and again in the question paper, what is asked. And then while writing the answers. But don't worry, even I was not so good at English, both. Speaking, anyways, it was very challenging for me. I did not have the confidence, but that was more of the confidence of facing the crowd, etc. And that overcame when I started speaking and taking classes and doing so many things. And as far as the understanding and writing part, I think you have to keep on reading y'all material. Now I'll not say read newspapers, that time is gone right now because we already have so much of content here to read, and take a parallel dictionary. And now fortunately you have so many things available online. You can put it in any AI app and get it converted in your Hindi or Marathi or whatever language you want. So where you find something very difficult to understand, convert it into your language. That will help you at the understanding level. For writing level, it is simple. Keep on practicing more of writing. Maybe initially copy from the module, but that will develop slowly your. So for you, practicing English is also now a part of practicing for your intermediate. Yes, Mosam, these classes are enough. See, anyways, no class is enough. I cannot assure you that whether our classes will be enough or for that matter, any class of any faculty will be enough. It is more about how you are approaching. And yes, wherever you feel you are lacking, our BOS will always be there to support you. Wherever you feel you want something extra, please connect to BOS. They will definitely make that arrangement for that chapter or that particular concept. Wherever you feel you are still lacking, you require some more, but now YouTube is open. You can always go there. You will find multiple free options. You can even check out from there. But that mix and match you'll have to do. But otherwise, our classes, the faculties, the content that we are giving, because we are doing it for so many years now, I tell you, it is the most complete and a most comprehensive class that will be sufficient. But again, as I said, now student to student things may vary. So I have given you the answer. Sir, I'm attempting at least 20 questions of each chapter, which includes MTP, RTP. That is sufficient, but 20 is sufficient because 20 will give you an idea of the different variety. And if these 20, if you practice, that will also help you in getting the speed and accuracy. I'm a direct entry student, also science student. Will it be easy for me? See, it is not easy, Arun. Anand Ruti. It is not easy even for the commerce students. So don't worry. It is not easy even for the foundation students. So don't worry. It is not about being a foundation student or being a commerce student. It is more about the approach which I have talked about. Even if you are a science student, the only difference is you'll require more practice for subjects of accounts because it was not there. The basics were not there. Except for that, all other subjects like taxes, costing, FM, audit, everything is starting with zero. And law, anyways, you always have a new law. You always have a new law. So for science students, reading and understanding any theory is anyways not a challenge. So I think for you, any science student, Arun, Anand, Dhruti, the only challenge is the accounts because accounts here is not having the basics. So I will request that wherever you find challenge in understanding accounts, you can go to some basic lectures available on YouTube. I don't know whether you all have access to our foundation lectures. If you all have access, you can go there and check those basic accounts. You only need basic accounts up to the preparation of balance sheet. Only those topics, if you do like journal entry, ledger posting, and balance sheet, that is sufficient basics required. Then you can easily handle the topics here. Uh, Gurram, I don't know what is the answer for your question. You have asked that if I've registered on 1st Feb, when will my attempt be? I'm sorry, I cannot answer this. I'm not very well versed with the attempt scheming. Maybe I'll request somebody from BOS to answer your question. That if you have registered on 1st Feb, when will your attempt be? If somebody can answer, you can please answer. I'll inform him. So his question is, he has registered on 1st Feb. What will be his attempt? Priyanka sir, how to prepare for September 25 both groups? Don't worry. Priyanka, you just follow what I mentioned at the start. That is, have a proper approach, self-help approach, and regularly after the classes, make your pointers, and every weekend keep on revising. This is what will give you 100% result for September. Only our study material. See, our study material, Varalakshmi, is superb. but you need extra practice. So I will request that besides study material, at least for all practical subjects, please refer our past exams, MTP, RTP available on our portal and also practice them. So besides material, practice them. Same thing you can do for theory. When you refer to our past exams, MTP, RTP, you get an idea how the theory questions are framed and what type of answers are required. So refer our past at least 5 to 6 attempt material, this MTP, RTP, that will help you in having a better practice and also having an approach of how exams are and what is required for exams. Somebody, Manisha is asking, sir, when I watch a lecture and understand everything, but I don't have any doubt to ask. Is this a problem? See, Manisha, I'll tell you today what is happening. Even if you understand everything, you still have a doubt whether this is correct. If you don't understand, like people are saying, sir, we are bad at English, we are direct entry, we don't understand, we are slow learners. Again, you feel that is a problem. So if you understand everything, still you feel there is a problem. If you don't understand, still you feel there is a problem, Manisha. See, nothing of this is a problem. I have been repeating one thing in this 40 minutes of my deliberation that every student is different. At many point of my discussion, I'm saying that different students will have different problems, subject wise, concept wise, practical theory wise. So don't worry, if you're understanding something, it is good. Now, the next step is convert it into exam. That is, if you feel your understanding is properly, go to the exam questions, try to answer them. If you have understood something in theory, do one thing, take up a small test for yourself, learn that particular chapter, go to our exam, any material, and try to solve the questions of that chapter. This will give you an insight as to whether your understanding is complete or not. Even if you have no doubts to ask, that is okay. See, that is more about attitude of a student also, or you can say the personality of the students of asking or not asking a question. So don't worry for that. Good morning, Yatish. Can I buy my 25 study material for September? Why you need to buy? I think it is available free on our portal. Rajita is asking which books. My first preference is our module, our past exam questions. Yes, if there are challenges in understanding the basics and you need more practice, then there are different books. You have to go to your area bookshop, whichever is there, because now there are many authors' books. You can take up any author book. One book is sufficient for a subject for practicing the basics. Yes, good morning, Kiran. Kabyajit is asking, sir, what can be the impact of AI? Kabyajit, today it is not the right time to discuss this. Maybe we'll discuss this point later, impact of AI. But don't worry, if you are perfect in your knowledge about the subject, AI will not take your job. Anyways, I'm sure everybody knows the main tagline is that you will not be replaced by AI. You will be replaced by the person who knows how to use AI. So don't worry whether AI will replace your profession. AI cannot replace anything because AI is designed only to do things which are already present. And as chartered accountants, as doctors, as scientists, we are always faced with problems which are new. Like somebody gets a notice on some taxation matter, that matter may not be same like other matters, even though the subject of notice would be same, let us say business income, but still his facts and the requirement of the law in his case and in some other notice even for the same topic will be different. So we will never be having that big problem. Yes, mechanical things will get replaced, but that is happening. When I joined CA course in 98, things were handwritten. We were writing books of accounts and we were doing audit manually. By the time I completed my CA in 2002, things had changed. We had got Tally for doing accounting. And by the time I was in my profession, we have now the audit tools for doing audit. So things are going to always progress technologically. But don't worry, it will never replace. In fact, our institute is doing so many things. If you go and check our website of institute, you will find that we ourselves have a AI segment now. In fact, I think we are the first institute to do that, to have a special segment of AI where we are training our professionals on the new AI tools. That is what is sufficient. So don't worry, it will not replace your profession. Tanu, I think I've answered this. For practical extra book is you have to go to market. You have to check different authors that are available because every city will have different authors and different publications available. You can take any good publication. Don't worry. We have very good authors in market, right? What will be the estimate amount of sessions? Amount, Medha Singh, I think you are asking number of sessions. If it is number, it is already there hosted in our portal. Is theory important? Yes, you have theory questions in our paper also. Yes, there is one allotted question for that, and if I'm not wrong, it is optional. Sir, I request if possible real business approach. Yes, obviously, every teacher will do that. We will be giving you real business approach, only then you'll understand the topic. Sir, I feel sleepy whenever I study audit. No worries, Abdan. There would be subjects where you will feel sleepy. So better is what you should do is you should have an approach whereby, as I said, na self-help approach, you study that topic first and then attend the class. When you do that, you will find the class more engaging. And if you feel that audit while studying is giving you sleep, what I used to do, I used to walk and study theories topics because anyways, practical never troubles you because you are solving. But theory at times, when I used to feel sleepy while doing law or audit, I used to walk with my book and read. So at least the sleep used to go. Then if I'm walking for 15-20 minutes, I'll sit for 5 minutes. Again, when I start feeling that no, now it is getting again drowsy, I used to walk for 10-15 minutes. This is what I did. Yes, it is Shashi Tharoor. Omkar, sir, I'm attempting max 20 questions. I think I have answered this. That is sufficient. Sir, if you are speaking in Hindi, can you please don't use any numbers in Hindi? I can't understand Hindi. Ha, I can understand Hindi, but not too grammatically. Don't worry, beta. Anyways, as I said, I won't be using Hindi regularly. I'll be using mainly for answering questions, specifically who have requested in Hindi. Secondly, not only you, many people who are otherwise knowing Hindi also will not be comfortable with understanding Hindi numbers, right? So Hindi numbers, even I do not know the Hindi pronunciation or the Hindi words for all numbers. So don't worry. Whatever Hindi will be only used sparingly for answering questions who have asked or requested in Hindi. Yes. Neeraj is asking, sir, should we take down the notes in register manually or we can download the soft copy? See, PDFs will always be shared. What notes I'm taking or talking about to take down in your registers manually is the notes which you find that, okay, this point is important. This particular thing I should note down so that it will help me because I have realized in my study that whenever I used to note down things, I used to retain that thing better. So whatever notes will be used in the class for explaining, everything will be shared with you. It will be uploaded on the portal and you can download from there. So for every notes which are shown on the screen, you need not copy. Many times we'll be using the module only. But where we are using our own notes, that will be shared with you all. But what notes I'm asking you all to take down is the pointers which the faculty is saying this is important or this concept you should focus more on, or anything which you feel is important for your remembrance. You have to make notes alongside the class, not of the entire PPT which is shown that will be shared. Sir, how many notebooks? See, Shreya used to have two notebooks. One for taking down the important pointers, which I am talking about, and two for doing extra practice. So I never mix extra practice with my exam pointers because then that one single book will be too messy. So I normally used to have two books for practicals. One where I'm taking down all the important pointers. After the class, I'm writing down important concepts, formulae, whatever I feel important. And another book in which I'm solving the sums for practice. Shailesh is asking, sir, I have one query. I'm doing CMA along with CA. Sir, is costing same? Yes, 90%, 99, 95% costing is same in both CW and CA. See, Kavya, it is not a problem. If you are comfortable with English, you should definitely switch to English because I believe that will have a better understanding at the higher levels. Because higher levels, many things, even in the Hindi version, are not so comfortable and understanding because the words over there are not the one which we are used to, even though it is your language would be Hindi, still those words are very difficult to understand in Hindi. So if you can manage things in English, if that won't be affecting too much your studies, I will always recommend, if possible, switch to English. Barsha, English, sorry, costing is yes, more about practical, but there will be concepts which are very important to solve the practical. So even concept theory wise will be important. And as I said, there is one dedicated question in exam for theory. Yes, somebody I think has answered your question that when will be your attempt if you have registered on 1st Feb. Somebody, rather two people have answered that it will be Jan 26. So I don't remember who asked this question, but the answer to your question given by two persons is that if you have registered on 1st Feb, your exams would be Jan 26. Yes, don't worry. Don't wait for foundation results, Nandini. Start studying. No study will be waste. Irrespective of your foundation result, whatever you'll study will help you. How to prepare notes, I've already been telling you. Take important points, what you feel, what we are saying, the faculties are saying, make a note of that. After the class is over, try to recall what all things were discussed and make a note that these concepts were discussed. Firstly, make a note of the broad concepts and then try to fill in the blanks that in this concept, this was important, right? Okay. So many people have answered that your attempt would be Jan 26. So I think this is final then. Since there are too many chapters to cover in CA, can you suggest a revision strategy? Don't worry, Madesh. Revision strategies would be shared. But first, follow what I've just explained at the start. For every class, take your notes. After every week, in a weekend, fix up a day or two where you will be taking up the revision of whatever you have studied in the class. And before the class, you are coming to the class, make it a point that you'll read that chapter from the module. 41 years old, great. Since 5 years, I'm practicing. I'm here to learn and become CA. Please advise me. No worries. Mohammed Parvez, your this thought process itself of taking up CA course at this age itself is the first big step in making you a successful person. Yes, you will have more challenges because obviously you'll be having responsibilities to shoulder along with studying. So you will have to take out more time. No worries, you just follow our class for the time being and be in touch with me. I'll guide you as to what different things you will have to do particularly so that you get better results. Surbi, I think I answered this. I will always prefer that you attend live classes because that will make you more attentive. Also, you will be able to ask questions there and there itself. But yes, if you miss one of the live classes for some pressing reasons, you can take up that lecture immediately offline because it will be uploaded. Yes, April 23 books are fine except for taxes. What about AS? The same job that is auditing can also be carried out by CS. No, but don't worry. They have not, the new Income Tax Act has kept CA only as the person who can audit. So don't worry. ठीक है. Yes, Rohan, you can read the book of the same topic after the class. But most important, take your own personal notes. Padma Shri, your question is whether they have made a WhatsApp group. I don't think we make WhatsApp group of students. So there is no WhatsApp group as far as I understand. Still, if it is, you'll have to ask them because as far as I know, we do not make any WhatsApp group of students. But if something new has started this batch, I don't know. But at least I'm not informed that we have to make a WhatsApp group of students. No, Sumit, there are no tests which are conducted in the class because our first role is making you all well versed with the topics with practical questions. So there are no tests which are conducted in the class. Anyways, there are no, I don't think any online class during the class conducts a test. There is a separate test. And obviously, yes, I will suggest that you have many online options who only conduct test series. But again, but that will be a bit later. I think first 2 months, your main focus should be understanding the concepts because all subjects are very different. In fact, this is the real CA and the real commercial world starting at this stage. So better first focus on understanding and practicing the subjects. Uh, Anshi, beta, if you are a working professional, yes, as I was speaking to Mohammed, you will be having some extra challenges. No worries. First, just make it a point that you will take out time firstly, which is a more challenging thing. Take out time to be in touch with the syllabus. If you feel doing both groups is too hard, hard in the sense because you are not having time, because you are also working parallelly. Same thing, Mohammed, you should also focus on this. You may first have an approach of taking one group at a time. No worries. Instead of completing both groups in this attempt, it will be after 4 months. That won't be a very big time gap. But unnecessary pressurizing yourself is not good because you all are already shouldering some responsibility. You all are already working. So along with that, you may start taking up one group at a time. This will be my suggestion to both of you or to anybody who's also working alongside studying. Dharni, I think detailed timetable is available. So I don't know, but as far as I understand, a basic schedule should be there on the portal for our entire timetable. Yes, it may not be a very detailed one giving you each and every thing at the start, but at least a broad timetable is there. Acha, Mohammed is saying, yes, Mr. Ajit made yesterday. So, beta, there may be a WhatsApp group. I don't know. If that is the case, I'll request the technical team to share the students with the link because students are asking me the link for the WhatsApp group if it is created. Okay, then I'm not aware if WhatsApp group is there. That's good. Sir, I meant that offline classes means the classes which I can attend. Acha, by going to ICI Bhavan. Surbi, I think some branches of our ICI are even conducting physical classes. You will have to check whether the branch in your city is doing that because it is not available, and in fact, it is not possible in every city. In fact, few branches are not doing regular classes physical, but they are doing, I think, this crash batches, revision batches, which is done physical. So you'll have to check this, Surbi, because post-pandemic, what has happened? Even the regular private classes have now shifted from physical to online mode because students are preferring that. And the same thing is with our institute also, that it is not that we are not conducting, it is that students are now not interested in coming physically, Surbi. So that is what is a challenge. In fact, our institute is the most proactive body, specifically when it comes to members and students. So we are doing lot many things, whatever is possible, and wherever we are getting that requirement. So if people like you are interested in coming, you can approach your branch. If you are some decent number, I'm sure they will work out uh, in the place where you are staying. Soumya, let us not talk about the new IT Act. That will be discussed as and when the topic starts. But don't worry, there is nothing major like something out of the box in the new Income Tax Act. It is on the lines of the old Act only, with mainly simplification of the language, which is good for everyone. Yesterday, link was provided during the law introductory lecture. So no worries. If there is a link, there is some WhatsApp group. Link will be shared again. I have requested. Okay, so but I'm not aware because till last lectures we were not having any WhatsApp group. If it is started from this, it is good. Yes, Rajita, physical classes are available. That's why I'm saying some branches are having physical classes. It depends upon all how many students are there, how many are ready to come physically. So that's what I said. Some branches are having. Kavya, are the physical classes free? I don't have idea better because it is a branch specific decision. Firstly, you check in your area, Kavya, is there a physical class going with ICI Bhavan? You can visit our ICI Bhavan or the ICI branch, or you can get in touch with any senior CA, whoever you know of your area. He will guide you properly to the branch and all. And then you can go to the branch and then check with them if they are having a physical class, and then comes the next question whether it will be free or not, because that is a very branch specific decision. Yes, but you're right, Priyanka. Our ICI is doing great for everyone, especially for students, also for members. You will not believe that we are investing so much time and money in bringing the best thing for our members like me who are completed CA course, and also like you who are still pursuing CA. The only thing is that we both have to take the maximum advantage of this. See, Silesh, no worries. Whatever case studies are required or are there, that will be discussed in the class. At inter level, you have less case studies. As you go to final, your studies are more case study driven. See, at inter, you are studying these subjects for the first time. So we cannot directly give you the case studies until and unless you know the basics of that subject. So at inter level, we create the foundation of every subject because these subjects are new. You are doing this for the first time. And when you go to finals, then we go to the advanced level where these subjects which you have already studied at inter, then they are given to you in case study format. right? Sure. So we have had a very good discussion. This was also a type of icebreaker between you and me. Now, let us start with our subject. Medha is asking, sir, where are you from? I'm here, and very soon I'll be here. That is where I stay. So don't worry about the geographical place. That doesn't matter. Anyways, I travel a lot. So maybe sometime I'll come and meet you in your city also because I travel a lot for many of my professional work, many of our institutes, programs, and sessions I travel. So you may post me your city. Wherever I'm there, I'll inform you, and if possible, we'll meet. Fine? Great. So now I want everyone to get into the interactive mode. And when I say interactive mode, I want your responses wherever you feel you need to discuss something, speak something. We can even unmute you so you can raise your hand, right? But otherwise, I'll keep the chat box live, that is open, so that I can understand what is going on. Sure, sir. Please costing till end. Is my comments visible? Acha, sorry. There are some questions or pointers here on the portal also. Sir, you are going to teach costing till end, yes, but there are different, we have panel of faculties, all are super faculties. So we divide the topics between us. So different faculties will be teaching different topics. And yes, we all will be till the end. Approximate how many marks we have, that will be informed to you. We have 3 classes by institute, which takes 9 hours. After that, we have 5 hours left for self-study, how to manage theory. Don't worry. So after every class, you should only manage Vishnu one thing, that is, you should be taking notes of yourself, whatever you have studied in the class. So besides the 9 hours of classes, in whatever time you have, that is why I've only asked you all to take notes so that it will build up your understanding. It will make it consolidated what you have studied. And during your off days or the days when you have less lectures, you have to revise that, maybe study it from the module again. So that is how mix you have to do. But most importantly, your focus should be attending the classes and getting the topics understood. Good morning, sir. That student was wait 8 months eligible for exam register date to 8 months. Okay, so somebody has answered this question that there is minimum 8 months gap. I am a Kannada student and I understand little bit of English. Okay, and also I'm learning English continuously. Suggest me, sir. Okay, okay. Thank you, Kavita. No worries. You'll understand even if you know something in English, that is sufficient. We do not require to be super Sashi Tharoor in English. Even basic English will be fine. Okay, now I want you all to be answering me parallelly. My first question is, what is your subject? Or I'll make it more specific. We say our subject is costing. Somebody say, sir, it is cost and management accounting. What is the name given? Somebody say, sir, it is cost accounting. Right? So I will also answer this question. So what is your subject? As per the name given by institute, our subject is this. The name of the subject and the paper is cost and management accounting. Fine. Now, my specific question is, we also say that our subject is costing. And the name given by the institute is cost and management accounting. So it is cost accounting and management accounting. My question is, let us keep management accounting aside for a while. We normally say the subject is costing, but the name given is cost accounting. So my very first question is, what you believe, because you don't know the subject, that you have come to the class to understand that. But as I said, a self-help approach, I want to develop that. So the first question which I'm asking you, which henceforth you will be asking yourself when you are studying the subject by yourself, is, we call it as costing. The subject name is cost accounting. So first question is, what exactly the subject is? Is it costing or cost accounting? One, and a parallel question to this, whether costing and cost accounting are same. In fact, this is the more specific question, whether costing and cost accounting are same. Whoever feels it is not same, just give me the difference what you feel is. the difference between costing and cost accounting? So if you feel it is not same, what is the difference? Okay, fine. What is the difference? People are saying it is not same. Costing is the technique of ascertaining cost. Okay, and what is cost accounting? My question is, what is the difference between costing and cost accounting? Because these are the two names used. We refer to the subject as costing, but our course, our institute says it is cost accounting. So my question is, what is the difference if there is any? If it is same, fine. So somebody saying, Medha is saying costing is the technique process of ascertaining cost. Cost accounting is accounting for cost. Wow, very technical. Good. Costing is technique, cost accounting is process. Wow. Costing is process of ascertaining cost, where cost accounting deals with recording. Okay. Costing, no. Costing and cost accounting not same as costing from my perspective is only cost and accounting is recording. Okay. Cost accounting deals with determination of cost, preparing of accounts. Cost accounting is process. No, they are not same. Costing means ascertaining cost. Cost accounting is recording. Okay. Super. We find specific product cost. Costing means amount of expenditure. Cost accounting is accounting of recording. Costing is ascertaining cost. Costing is for product. Accounting is for accounting. Okay. Costing is technique. Costing is tablet process. Acha, tablet process. I think tabular you want to say, Rajita. Costing is at a certain cost of product and service. Cost accounting. Okay. Costing is techniques and cost accounting is process. Okay. Okay. Calculating cost per unit. Wow. So it means you all have already done self-help. Your answer suggests that. Excellent. Now, since you have done some self-help, now let me help. See, students, majority of your answers are perfect. They are as per the theoretical definition. But now let us understand the subject more practically. When I say practical, I don't mean calculation. When I say let us understand it practically, means let us bring the subject from here to here. This is what is understanding the subject. This is what is feeling the subject. And the moment you start feeling the subject, there is less load over here because less you have to remember or try to learn. Fine. Now, for next 5 minutes, don't put anything in the chat box. Otherwise, it will distract me. I'll have to keep on looking at the chat box. So now pay attention to what I'm saying. What you all said is perfect from here. Let us try to bring the subject here. Now, how do you bring any subject here is, I'll tell you the technique. The technique is linking the subject with something around you. We try to link the subject with something which is in industry, which is in factory, which is in your some economy. That is correct. But that is the second stage. Because since you do not have any practical exposure to real economy, to business, to commerce, to industry, if you try to link the subject or the concept with industry or economy, it will again be here only and it will be only mechanical because you don't know that. So why not connect it with something around us in our daily life? When you do that, then you start feeling the subject and it actually gets into your biology system. And then whenever you face anything in that subject, handling that becomes more easy, more precise, and more interesting. Let us do that. Now, when I'm reading anything in English, I go to Shri Amitabh Bachchan, who says English is a funny language. And that is correct. It is not disrespecting the language. It is because the language has so many things which makes the language a funny language. But here I'm not on the fun part. I'm on the grammar part. Whenever in English you add ing to any verb, verb means doing something like to walk, to eat, to sleep, to study. All these are verbs. When I add ing to study, it becomes studying. When I add ing to sleep, it becomes sleeping. When I add ing to eat, it becomes eating. So what is this ing signifying? It is signifying the process of doing that verb. So when I say studying, it means we are talking about the process of study. When I say eating, we are trying to say we are doing the process of eating. So to eat is a verb. In Hindi, it is a kriya, it is an act. And when you add ing, it becomes the process of doing that. Similarly, when I say costing, accounting, it means I am talking about a process. Perfect. So both are processes because both are ing. So any ing is a process. Process of what? In very simple words, if I write just very theoretically, it is the process of doing cost. Now, doing cost doesn't sound proper. So, to make it grammatically correct, I will just change doing by another word. It is process of knowing cost. It is process of finding cost. And once you understand this, because these are very basic words, our day-to-day casual words, now I substitute it with more appropriate word. So it is what costing is a process of doing cost. What is doing cost? It means knowing the cost, finding the cost. Now I change it with a more appropriate word. What is doing cost? What is finding cost? It means knowing the cost. It means calculating the cost. It means ascertaining the cost. So costing is nothing but finding out how much cost you have done. That is costing. So finding out how much, quantifying it, calculating it, technically ascertaining it is costing. So costing. Now what is cost? Accounting. Now cost is constant, so let us keep this aside. Let us first understand what is accounting. Again, accounting is process of doing account. Now, what is doing account? Again, not proper. So I change it with process of keeping account, process of maintaining account. And what is account? Account in Hindi is hisab, is the working. Now, this is what I'm trying to explain you the definition of accounting. Now, a more proper word for this is, which was your 11th standard subject. If you recall your 11th standard subject, it was bookkeeping. It was recording your transactions in the books, and it resulted in preparation of reports. So what is accounting? And let me tell you, whenever you read this word accounting, the definition of accounting is same, only the subject matter of accounting changes. Like what you call as accounts from standard 11 is not account or accounting, it is financial accounting. Similarly, now you are studying cost accounting. You will be studying management accounting. You will be studying different more accountings because accounting remain constant, only the subject matter changes. Now, what is accounting? It is again starting with ing, so it is the process of maintaining. Most perfect word for accounts is maintaining accounts. Now, what is maintaining accounts? It is the process which starts with recording every transaction. That is journal entry. Then it is analyzing whether capital revenue. Then it is summarizing, which is your ledger posting. And then finally it ends with reporting, which is your financial statements, P&L, balance sheet, cash flow, fund flow, etc. So accounting is same everywhere. Now, when you do this for financial data, it becomes your account subject. When you do this for this costing data, that is the data which you have ascertained, which you have calculated, by the process of costing. So what you have found out, computed, that is costing. Now that computed data, that computed cost, you record in your books of costing, that is cost accounting books. Then it is same process, recording the costing data, analyzing, summarizing, and now preparing costing reports. Like how you have financial reports, P&L, balance sheet, cash flow, fund flow, EVA statement, so many statements. Those are financial reports. Similarly, in costing, we have costing reports like cost sheet. We have so many control sheets. We will be studying all this. You have your stock data. So many things in costing are the reports of cost accounting. So it starts with recording, analyzing, summarizing, classifying everything, and it ends with reporting. But now the subject matter is the cost data. So it's become cost accounting. So to simplify, costing is finding out what cost. Cost accounting is recording up to reporting of what? Of cost. So finding out cost is costing, recording up to reporting of cost is cost accounting. Now, the main point of question. Our syllabus says the name is cost accounting. My question is, and you need not answer, I'll be answering it. It is my way of speaking. My question is, if my syllabus says whether it is, if my syllabus says the subject is cost accounting, so whether costing is also going to be studied, the answer is yes, because only after costing you get the data for which you will be doing accounting. So for doing accounting, you first need to know the cost data, and that cost data will be calculated, ascertained by doing costing. So for accounting, you'll have to do costing. So by default, our subject syllabus content has chapters where you will be doing only costing, has chapter where you are only doing accounting, and has chapter where you are doing both, because in that chapter, first you are ascertaining costs, and in the same chapter, you are also doing recording, reporting, etc. of the cost. Now, interestingly, if somebody says, okay, sir, okay, what comes first and what comes later, or who is dependent on what, then my answer is this. It is both way process. You do costing, find out cost. It helps in doing cost accounting, that is recording, reporting, etc. And once you have done cost accounting for a year, that becomes basis for doing costing for the next year. Because when you have to do costing, you require some data. This data is available from the last year's reports. So it is a cyclical process where both of them are interdependent. Yes, Prem, you are very correct. I'll come to your point in some time. So both are interrelated concepts and both are required parallel. So from costing, you go to cost accounting, and from cost accounting, you go to costing. So it is a cyclical process and both are part of your syllabus. Now, very interesting difference, which Prem just mentioned. I'll just put that difference here and then we will proceed, is that now we know what both are. So costing is finding out, that is ascertaining, and this is recording up to reporting of the cost data. What is very interesting is costing is a estimated process and accounting is a actual process. Now, what do we mean by estimated process and actual process? In costing or for doing costing, the data that we are using is estimate. And for doing accounting, the data that we are using is actual. Why? Because costing is done before the activity is done. Accounting is done after the activity is done. Like take example of your financial records. In financial records, whatever journal entries you passed, which is the starting point of accounting, that always happened after the transaction took place, after purchases were made, after sales were made, after salaries were paid, or after the salary became due. After the year completed, you passed entries for depreciation, provision, and other provisions. So in accounting, we always deal with transactions which are happening after that actual event has happened. In costing, we are dealing with figures before the event has happened. And why so? That we will understand as we proceed. Now, since both these costing and cost accounting are dealing with one common thing, that is cost. So now let us parallelly understand what is cost. So to understand this, why it is important? Because costing is also done of cost, accounting is done of cost. So it is now very important to understand what is cost. Somebody is asking what is broad term. Kavita, I did not get your question. You are talking about what is broad term means which term. Okay, in the meanwhile, I ask you all, give me answer to this. What you understand from the word cost? So now we are not talking about the process. Process, I have explained both the processes. What you understand by the word cost? Good, good. Okay. But a costing is not calculation. Calculation is the process which is costing. Cost is not calculation. Super. You all are perfectly right. So now let me answer this. Yes, super. Perfect. What is cost? Cost is expenditure or expenses. Now again, pay attention, students. Let us come from here to here. How? Cost is a concept for which you need not go to any industry or factory. When we will be studying costing in other chapters of costing, I will be taking the examples around you because that is how you will feel the subject. You will understand the subject. Here also, to understand cost, I will say don't go anywhere. See around you because in our daily life, we use this word cost. In our daily life, now something which I'm going to say will amaze you. In our daily life, you all are doing costing also. Yes, you may not have done cost accounting because it requires books and all, which we are normally not doing. But in your day-to-day life, in your personal life, you are doing costing. Simple example. What is costing? Costing is the process of knowing the cost. What is cost? Cost is expenditure. Most important, it is expenditure of something. This is the most important point. Cost is not an independent concept. It is always linked to something. Like in our daily life, we use this word cost of living, my traveling cost, my survival cost, my CA course cost. We always use this and we always have been doing costing in our real life. Because what is costing? It is finding out cost. But cost means what? Expenses of something. Means whenever you are talking about cost, which is expense, it cannot be only expense because expenses are so many. When you talk about cost, it is always expense of something. That something may be some product which we call as goods. That expense may be of some service or it may be of any activity. And let me tell you, you have done costing of all this. How? Let us again feel it instead of studying this. Instead of going theoretical, let us be practical. Chalo. So, next 5 minutes, we will be doing costing. Costing means we will find out cost. Cost means expense, but expense of what? You need to know the cost object first. What is the cost object? Cost object is this. The goods the service of which you want to do costing. So you want to find out the expenditure. Expenditure of what? Of something, which may be some product, some service, or any activity. So this product service activity of which you are going to find out the cost or the expenditure, this is called as the cost object. So now understand this practically. Practically means with your real life. Whenever you want to do costing, you need to first identify of what I have to do costing, which product, which service, or which activity. And that what of what you are doing costing is the cost object. Now I'll give you the cost object. The cost object is yesterday's dinner. You'll had your yesterday's dinner. If somebody had upwas or fasting, whatever was your last meal, that is your cost object. Now, what is costing? Costing is finding out the expenses which are related to this cost object. So costing is making a list. I give you 5 minutes. 5 minutes. You have to do costing of yesterday's dinner. What is costing? Identify the expenses. What all expenses were there for yesterday's dinner? And the second step after identifying is quantify. Quantify means find out the amount of that you are not required to do. And that is what we are going to learn in every chapter, how to find out the value. But that is what we are going to study. Anyways, now I am not interested in amount. I am interested in the process. So I've given you your cost object. Give me the list so that from here I will take you to the real technical costing. Sure, 5 minutes. What you have to do is you can just give me a list in the chat of whatever you feel will be the expenses. Okay. So if you all have identified, give me your list. What are the expenses for the cost object? That is yesterday's meals, dinner. Yes, others. Oh, some people have even quantified. Wow. Great. Wow. That's great. Oh, clothes. Acha. Fine. Okay. Mm-hmm. Somebody saying you're not audible. Okay. Wow. Excellent. Now from here, the understanding will start. Yes, Rohan, I really like this point. Okay. Now, I'll just take some broad points. Rice, maybe wheat, flour, different types of dals, different vegetables, right? Then you needed masalas, that is spices. You needed oil. You required water. Then you even consume the gas. You consume electricity, correct? Then, okay, I'm just categorizing it, right? Then you required kitchen utensils and the apparatus, which is microwave, which is the dishwasher, which is the refrigerator, which is the chapati maker, which is different types of utensils required for cooking. All those things are required. Then you even required plates, glasses, spoons, and the utensils for eating the food, right? You even required the kitchen space, the entire kitchen setup. Besides the utensils and apparatus, you first required the space and the setup. Then, most important, which I found only, I think, two people mentioning, is the cooking effort, the serving effort, the cleaning efforts. Now, firstly, let us understand costing, and then I will go to the respective categories of cost. So, what is costing? If I have to now give you the feel, you have to first find out for what you are doing this costing. That is, what is your cost object? In my case, it is dinner. When you will be quantifying, that is, you will be finding out the amount, how the amount is calculated, I'll come to that. You require another thing, which is the cost unit. Now, let us first understand these two technical terms. Cost object is that product, that service, or that activity for which costing is done. In my case, I have taken example of dinner. It can be anything. Cost unit is the quantity for which you want to do this costing. Now, what I mean by quantity, dinner is the cost object. What will be the quantity? Quantity will be your one plate, that is your own dinner, or it may be the dinner for the entire family. This is very important when you will be quantifying. So whether you are doing costing of one plate, that is of your own individual dinner, or you are doing costing for the entire family dinner, this is the quantity for which you are finding out. This is the quantity for which you will be expressing the cost. Now let us understand these technical terms. So cost object is the goods, the service, the activity of which costing is done. Quantity is the quantum of this good service for which cost is calculated, that is ascertained and expressed. What is this expressed? That when I have to tell somebody about this cost, what I have calculated, I have to express it per. What is this per? It may be per plate. It may be per family. So every product is the cost object, and the quantity of that product for which you have to calculate and express the cost is the cost unit. For example, this pen is the cost object. I'll be doing costing of this pen. But when I have to express this cost, when I have to tell somebody the cost, it may be for one pen, it may be for one packet of 10 pens. This one pen or this one packet is my cost unit. And interestingly, you'll observe for different industries and for different products, the cost unit is different. Like when we go to buy oil, cooking oil, it will be either a sachet or it will be either that can of 5 liters or of 15 liters. So that 5-liter can becomes my cost unit. Oil is the cost object. But when I go to buy biscuit, it will be one packet of 100 grams or 200 grams or 500 grams. That is the cost unit. Biscuit is the cost object. Similarly, when I buy something like a motor car is the cost object, and cost unit is one piece, one unit of motor car. So for different products, for different services, the cost unit is different. Now, where this cost unit will affect costing, it is when you are finding out the quantum, the value. Fine. Cost object helps you in identifying. Cost unit affects the quantum, that is the valuation. This is where, firstly, while doing costing, you have to find out both these things. What is the cost object and for what quantity the cost has to be expressed. Now, once you have identified these two things, now what comes next in costing is this. Identify what expenses are related. This is the keyword. You have so many expenses in your house. You did not consider everything here. You only considered those expenses which are related to your cost object. This is what is termed technically as attributable. And this is how the word cost is defined. How is cost defined in your books? It is defined as the expenses attributable to what? To this, a goods, a service, or an activity. Inventory control, but I will talk about this later. That is right now not relevant to our discussion. Unnecessary, I do not want to divert. So let us keep inventory control aside for the time being. So what is cost? Cost is the expenditure which is related to your cost object, which is attributable to your cost object. We only identify, we only consider those expenses, nothing beyond that. And this is the golden rule. Whenever you are doing costing, whenever you are studying any subject in costing, the first thing in costing that you have to keep in mind, that you have to always use, apply, is find out the cost object, cost unit, and then for the cost object, identify what are the expenses linked, related, attributable to that cost object. Only that will be considered while doing costing. So the first step in costing is ask your client what is the cost object, what is the cost unit for which he wants me to calculate and express the cost. Once he has given that, go to the records of the client. Which records? The cost records if they are prepared for the previous period. If not, go to the financial records because you need expenses details which you'll get from the financial records. Now start ticking what expenses are related. So identify those expenses which are related. Make a list. Now, once you have identified, you have to value them. You have to quantify them. How much? Quantify means how much. Now, how you do this? You have to find out two things. The quantity that is related to your cost object and cost unit, the quantity of each of these items that is related, and the price at which this quantity has to be valued. So for example, if I'm taking example of rice, how will I value it? I'll find out the rice in kgs or grams that is related to my cost object and the cost unit, and I multiplied by the per kg price of rice. This multiplication will give me the cost of rice, which I will put here in this table. Same thing I'll do with wheat flour, I'll do with dal, I'll do with vegetables, I'll do with masalas and so on. Now comes the most interesting and technical part. What I'm doing is I have identified the related or the attributable items like rice, wheat, masalas, etc. And now I'm doing the valuation because ultimately cost will be the amount. For that, I have to find out, I have to calculate the quantity of each of these items which is related to my cost object, to my cost unit, and whatever quantities I identify that, okay, for yesterday's dinner, let us say 250 grams of rice is required. Now I have to value this 250 grams. So I take the price, which again I calculate. And these are the calculations that you study in each chapter of costing. That is the material chapter, the employee cost chapter, the overhead chapter. We'll discuss that. Now, this is the whole process of costing that we are now experiencing. I'm not teaching, you are not studying, we are experiencing. So for each item, you start finding out this. Now, it will be possible to identify this quantity of certain items precisely, like for rice, wheat flour, for all dals and vegetables, it will be possible to identify, to calculate this quantity precisely. But for some of these items, it will not be possible to identify this precisely. You do not know exactly how much is consumed or required. Like take example of this. It is very difficult to identify how much quantity of utensils, of apparatus, of kitchen space, or of any kitchen facility or amenity is consumed, though you have used it, but how much is very difficult to identify. Now, here comes the concept. I want expenses which are related because cost will only cover expenses which are related. Related maybe in two manners. Some are directly related, we call them as direct cost. Some are not directly related, we call them as indirect cost. What is a direct cost? A cost which you can identify precisely. Identify the quantity precisely. Like this, rice, wheat flour, maybe vegetables, maybe some masalas. But there would be many costs where identifying the quantity precisely is very difficult or even not possible. So those costs which you can identify the quantity, they are related directly. So they are called as direct costs. Direct costs or directly related means you can easily identify. But which you cannot identify easily, they are called as indirect cost. And out of all these items, when you start valuing, you'll find that for some, you can do valuation very easily. But for some, the valuation is going to be difficult. So those expenses, those costs which are easily calculatable, easily identifiable will be called as direct cost. Those which cannot be easily identified and calculated are called as indirect cost, but both are required. Now, for those expenses where identifying it easily, calculating it precisely is difficult, we do averaging. Because we do not know the precise cost, then what we do is we find out the total cost, we divide it by some number of units to find out roughly, averagely, how much is required. In that manner, we will find out their amounts. And then making a total of this will give you the total cost. This is how costing happens in real world. This is how technically, practically costing happens. So what are the steps? First, ask what costing you need to done and for how much costing you need to done. Cost object costing. Then start identifying the expenses. And then start quantifying the expenses. In quantifying, you'll find easily identifiable and quantifiable. Those will be called as direct costs. Not so easily identifiable and quantifiable. So those will be called as indirect costs. For that, we'll use some averaging techniques. We'll study all this in respective chapters. This is how costing is done. Now, getting more technical. So I explain you one more concept. So let me come here. So we understood what are cost. Cost are expenses which are related to your cost object. This relation may be direct or indirect. So broadly, the cost would be easily identifiable cost. That is for which costing will be easy and precise. Those are called as direct. For which costing identifying is not precise, not easy. So we will average them out. They are called as indirect cost. Now, besides this classification, there is another very important classification of cost. Now, these costs, which are expenses, are broadly categorized into three categories: material cost, employee or labor cost, and other expenses. Like what you will take off kitchen utensils if they are taken on rent. Here, what will come is the average rent. If they are your own, what will come is the average proportionate depreciation. So these are the expenses because they are neither material cost. We have not used them as material like raw material or something, and they are not even labor or human cost. They are facility cost. They are the cost of using your assets or using certain facilities where the cost is rent, depreciation, repair, maintenance. All these expenses are what is called as expenses. So broadly, cost is made up of three components. Now, this is some theoretical part, but very important part. What are these costs? Where you have used something tangible which has gone into your goods or service, that is material cost. Where you have used human efforts, that is your labor cost or the employee cost. And the cost that you have incurred for various assets, various facilities, they are expenses. Now, within this, again, it may be direct material, it may be indirect material. Within this, it may be direct labor, it may be indirect labor. And within this, it may be direct expense or it may be indirect expense. What are direct, indirect? I explain. What you can easily calculate, what you can easily identify how much is going in the product. So costing is easy, costing is precise, it is direct. What you do not know exactly, like rent of my space. I may be paying rent monthly. I may be incurring depreciation annually. How much of it has gone in my yesterday's dinner is very difficult to calculate. So we average out. We all know averaging in maths and we have been doing averaging. So where precisely I cannot identify, I still do costing by finding out the average rough amount what would be used in my yesterday's dinner. That is where it becomes indirect. So those expenses, those costs where you cannot identify the amount easily, you cannot calculate, that is indirect. Now, in my example, direct materials are raw materials. Indirect materials are consumables. So raw material, packing material are direct material. Like here, what are raw materials? These are raw materials. What are consumables? These materials are consumables. They do not become final product, but they are used in the final product. Like oil, like water, they are used for cooking, but they do not become the final product. What becomes final product is rice, wheat flour, all these becomes final product. So they are raw material and they are easily identifiable, perfectly calculatable, but these are not. Now in labor, what is direct labor? Is generally the cooking labor. Again, if it is identifiable. Indirect labor is again the other labor, like in this case, it can be the serving labor or the cleaning labor or the repairs and maintenance time of the worker spent. All this is indirect labor. Direct expenses, let us say if for yesterday's dinner, you have specifically hired some equipment, so that equipment rent is specifically for yesterday's dinner, so it is easily identifiable. Otherwise, all your P&L expenses like rent, depreciation, repairs and maintenance, all these are annual or they are quarterly or they are monthly, and we average it out for one particular product or one particular dinner in our example. So it will be indirect expense. So broadly in the current example, this is the bifurcation of cost. Now, when I will be doing costing, the example which I gave, the calculations that we did is technically called as a cost sheet. So this working, which I just did, which you all did rather, what we did together, this is what is the cost sheet. This is one of the reports, the most important reports in costing. Now, what you are doing in costing, you are listing down all the expenses, you are calculating the amount, and you are adding up the amount to find out the total cost. This statement, this report is called as cost sheet. Now, in this, when I am putting this cost in this cost sheet, when I'm preparing this report, it is in a particular format, like how your all other reports are in a format. The format is like this: direct material, direct labor, direct expenses. We first put down this in this sequence. The total of this will be called as prime cost. So this is the technical terminology. Then all my indirect costs, like indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expense, these are together termed technically as overheads. So the total of all your indirect material, indirect labor, and indirect expense is together termed as overheads. Now, after making a total in my cost sheet of all direct items, which you can easily identify and hence precisely calculate, now you charge. Charge is a technical word. When we prepare a cost sheet by adding all the costs, what is technically said that we are charging these costs. So adding these costs in that particular cost sheet is what is technically called as charging. So charging is the process of costing, whereby you identify and you add each cost. That is technically called as charging. Now, what I do is all these indirect costs, which are collectively called as overheads, I reclassify it into production overheads, which is relating to manufacturing activity, administration overheads, which is relating to your day-to-day managing of the business, planning, staffing, etc. And the selling and distribution overheads, which is relating to the activity of getting customers, pitching them, doing marketing, doing advertisement, and finally delivering the goods to their doorsteps. So all my indirect costs are reclassified into production, administration, selling. Now I add these one by one. So first I add my manufacturing related indirect costs, which is also called as manufacturing overheads or production overheads. This total is called as factory cost. Now see, these are all technical words. There are more technical words. I'm not going into the detailed cost sheet format that you will study in the cost sheet chapter, but just to give you the total complete feel of from basic to the final stage of costing, I'm giving you the broad overview. Then we add the administration overheads. Again, when you study the technical formats, you'll find that administration overheads are further divided into two types. I'm not going into those detailings right now. That is part of the cost sheet chapter. This is called as your cost of production. And then after adding selling and distribution cost or selling and distribution overheads, what you get is your total cost, which is called as cost of sales, right? So broadly, what was your costing right now in this basic or a simpler format has become the same costing in a technical format called as cost sheet, which is something like this. Now, this direct material is your raw material consumed. While calculating raw material consumed, you will adjust your opening and closing stock of raw material here. Here, when you are adding production overheads, you will also adjust add and less opening and closing stock of WIP. So this is adjusted here and you get the factory cost. Then you add administration overheads, you get cost of production. Here you adjust opening and closing finished goods stock. Now, in my cost of production, when I add opening and less closing, what I get is cost of goods sold. See, don't worry, you don't have to remember everything immediately. It is not possible to remember everything now, and it is not required. I'm just giving you a rough idea so that when actually this chapter happens, you know the link, you know the flow. So cost of production, in that when you adjust opening, closing stock, what is left is cost of goods sold. And in that you add the selling cost. What you get is your total cost. In our simple words, in technical words, it is cost of sales. So this is the whole process of costing. And most important, what we are discussing is what is finally the meaning of cost, costing, and cost accounting. So cost is expenses which are related, that is attributable to your goods service activity, which is the cost object. Related may be direct or indirect. Direct is where it is easily identifiable and hence you can precisely calculate. Where you cannot precisely calculate, it is indirect. Indirect are also what are termed as overheads. Total of all the three prime costs, direct material, direct labor, direct expense, is technically called as the prime cost. So total of all the direct cost is prime cost. Right? This is from simple, from basic to the technical concepts and the working of cost and costing. I hope you all understood up to this point. Now, two more important points. This whole cost calculation or costing, as we have written here, is estimated. Generally, mind my words, I'm using the word generally. This cost calculation, cost estimation is a pre-activity. What is pre-activity? Before you do actual manufacturing, before you do actual production, you are many times required to find out the cost. And that is why if it is done pre, it has to be based on estimates. We also do this costing again post. After the activity has been done, we will do that, where obviously you will take the actual figures. But generally, costing is done majorly as a pre-activity. Why? First, when somebody comes to me for giving order, like if you come to my business and you want to give me any order, the first thing you'll ask me is, sir, what is the cost? Like you want to join the class, let us say there is some price. So the first question that you'll ask ICAI is, okay, what are the price or cost for these classes? So everybody wants to know the cost even before they have purchased that thing and even before I've done that thing. Now, if I have to tell you the cost to get your order, obviously I'll have to first find out the cost, which will be a pre-activity, and obviously it will be based on estimate. Similarly, even for my decision making, whether let us say the price in market is fixed, like many times we are in oligopoly market, so the prices are more or less fixed. I have to only accept or not accept that price and accept or not accept that order. So even for me taking any decision, whether I have to accept the order, whether I have to go into this new line of business, I have to find estimates to find out whether this new line of business or this order would be profitable to my business or not. And again, there I need estimates. So generally, this activity, this calculation is generally majorly done estimated because that is where the purpose of costing is. However, after you have actually done this, at the end of the year also, you will do costing to find out the same figures actual. Why? To compare. See, my purpose, my everything is already done taking estimates. I've got the order, I executed the order, everything is done. Now I am requiring costing. Why I do costing with actual figures? Just to confirm that whether my estimates were correct. If there is variation, and there will be variation because estimates cannot be correct, I will find out the causes. If the causes are such where my costing was wrong, in my next costing, I'll correct those. So my next costing will be more refined, more precise. If the causes were such where it was not the mistake of my costing, those were some unforeseen reasons why there was a difference, I will write it off in my P&L, I'll forget it, I'll move on. So this activity of costing is mainly pre, it is an estimated activity, but we also can do it post just for confirmation purposes. Fine. And then coming to the second most important point is, now we discussed and understood that in costing, what we have done, we have taken all expenses which are related and we have added that, we have charged that to find out total cost. So while doing costing, we have charged, we have considered my expenses related to the product. Fine. Now the question is whether you also consider and whether you also charge losses while doing costing. So chalo, I'm asking you all this question, whether we charge losses, whether we add losses in our costing. Okay, somebody's saying no. Maybe yes. This is a political answer. Okay, yes. Okay, now good classification. Yes, yes. Okay, no, no, no. Oh, oh, good, good, excellent. Mm-hmm. Wow, good. Impressed with your answers. Now let me give you the final conclusion. Losses are broadly of two types: normal, abnormal. Now, please understand and appreciate this point. Costing is relevant only when it is a pre-activity because we have to find out cost before for its main objective and purpose. Now, when you understand this point, understanding the losses point is easy. What is normal? That is what is expected, what is bound to happen is what you can also estimate. What is abnormal, which is unexpected? It happened due to some unexpected activity like floods, like fire, like earthquake, like sudden war in some countries, certain something has happened in my country, some policies have drastically changed. These are unexpected. We call them as abnormal. Now, what is unexpected is also not possible to be expected, estimated. Hence, the rule of costing is the losses which you predict. Why? Because they are part and parcel. Like, for example, when I'm doing manufacturing, when I'm using, let us say in my dinner, I again take that simple example. I have purchased some vegetable. The vegetable has costed me rupees 50 per kg. Let us say any type of vegetable, you take example, small example of potato. When I'm going to use this potato in my yesterday's dinner while cooking some potato related veggie, even though I have purchased 2 kgs of tomato and assuming I'm using the whole 2 kgs, 2 kgs will not go into my cooking because I will clean it, I will remove the upper skin. Maybe if like in case of tomatoes and other veggies where there is some seeds inside which is not eatable, I will remove that also. So in that particular case, that much part of my cost or my expenses is not usable, rather it is a waste, it is scrap. Now in that particular case, whatever is my waste which is coming out of or which is resulting from my regular activity, it is expected that 2 kgs if I bring, I'll be consuming only 1.5. Now the question is 1.5, I know I will be consuming, but while costing, while charging, whether I will also add that zero point 0.5 kgs, which is the waste? Answer is yes, because that zero point 0.5 kg is expected. So we do costing on estimated basis, and related to this point is the point of losses. That is whatever is expected loss, whatever is bound to happen, whatever is part and parcel of my day-to-day working of business, those losses, whether in material, labor, or expense, in any of the three categories, whatever are the expected losses, they are termed as normal, and whatever are normal losses will be added, will be charged in your product's cost. But what losses happened suddenly, unexpectedly? That anyways, at the time of estimation, I was not knowing that this will happen in future because it was unexpected. So those losses will never form part of costing. You do not include them. Then what happens to those losses? We write it off by putting it in our profit and loss account. So this amount gets added to cost. So indirectly, it gets added to price and you recover it from your customer. So this much loss comes back to you because it is now part of your price of the product or your service. So it is repaid back to you. But this will never be repaid back because you never added, rather you will not add, it cannot be added. So at the end, this much portion of the loss we transfer to P&L, like what you used to do in financial accounting, loss by fire, etc. We used to transfer to P&L. It means we write it off, considering it as our loss because it could not be costed and it could not be recovered from the client. Yes, Prem, if there is unexpected increase in rise of price. Now see, when we are costing, obviously I'm costing for a future period, maybe a year if I'm doing costing on estimated basis, I will definitely consider the general trend of price rise. That will be part of my costing because that I've already costed by taking the general trend in mind and estimated it. But if there is some unexpected rise in cost, like let us say there is some war and because of war, suddenly the oil prices have soared up. Obviously, that is my unexpected cost and that is abnormal. So that I cannot include it in my costing, at least of the products which I've already sold. Now they are already gone, they are already costed. But yes, for my future product which are yet to be sold, see, costing is not that you will do costing and you will wait for the whole year. You even revise your costing in between. Like let us say suddenly some war starts or some unexpected event happens, where now you know that from henceforth the prices of this particular metal, this particular oil, this particular metal will rise, and that will have this impact on my business. We revise our price because now that has become the new normal. Now, this word or this phrase had come after COVID. We started using this word, the new normal. So if something unexpected happens and something becomes the new normal, like after COVID, many things came into our lifestyle which became the new normal, like this online. We invested in a lot of softwares, we invested in all these. Now, majority of you have your own laptops and tablets because you have to do many things online. So that has become the new normal. That is added to cost. Now all of us have good internet connections, good data pack. So that cost is now the new normal. It gets added in the future products. So it is not that once costing is done, that will be permanent. We even revise our costing in between, right? Yukta, your question is very specific. You can connect me separately. I'll guide you as to what you can do in your costing. Fine. Or we can take this as a case study in the class whenever there is a cost sheet class. You give me the real facts. I'll guide you as to how, in your case of cake baking, actual costing is done. Let me first complete the part of today's syllabus. And maybe after that, or if you connect to me separately, we can take it up. So I hope students, you understood this concept of normal and abnormal also. Then comes another interesting and most important concept. What about notional expenses? Are notional expenses also included or charged in costs? Now, let me first tell you what is notional. What is opposite of notional is actual or out of pocket. What is notional? Notional is something for which you do not actually pay, but there is a cost which you imply. Example, depreciation. You do not pay it out of your pocket, but we are estimating that, okay, this much of my assets value has depreciated owing to passage of time, owing to wear and tear, etc. Similarly, in my example, the cooking labor of your mom, of your sister, or of your dad, or anybody who is doing the cooking labor, nobody is paying for that. Even in some cases, even the cleaning and the serving labor, nobody is paying. But the point is, where such expenses where you are not expressly paying, these are also called as implied. Implied means we presume. Whether these would be part of cost, the answer lies in the definition of cost itself. What it says, expenses attributable. If you can say it is attributable, if it is attributable, it will be part of cost. Now, in my example, these expenses, if they are attributable of on my yesterday's dinner, if they are related to my yesterday's dinner, I have to include it. Then comes the question, okay, so I identified it. That is my first step of costing, to identify. But the second step is quantifying. Now, if I identify that, okay, this have to be included, the question is how much? I need to know the amount. Somebody has already answered this question, that what will be the amount? Yukta has already answered. It is the opportunity cost. We studied this concept, or at least read this concept in economics in 11th and 12th. Today we are applying it. For example, when I'm providing service to my clients, I'm doing consultancy, I have to add my own labor cost in that. Though I'm not going to pay to myself, but I will identify my labor cost. What is this labor cost? It is my opportunity cost, that had I not run my own office, or had I not done my own profession or business, if I would have employed myself in some other company, what would be my salary package and what would be the average per hour salary that I would be earning, which include everything in salary, the monetary, non-monetary, everything which I'll be getting from my employer. That salary per hour is roughly my opportunity cost per hour of not taking up the job but doing this own business or profession. And then what I do is I will cost this, means I will charge this to my client. So let us say for my client work, I'm spending my 2.5 hours. So this 2.5 hours multiplied by this opportunity cost, which I have calculated per hour, this will be added, or this should be added. If you don't add it, you are doing injustice to yourself, or rather you are doing wrong costing. Because without adding this, if you are not getting some price for yourself, tomorrow it will happen that whatever you're receiving from your client, you are only paying the outside expenses. What is left for you? So your cost, or any implied cost, let us say you are doing your business in your own space, you have not taken it on rent. Had you taken it on rent, you would have considered rent as one of the costs. Then why not consider the notional rent? Why not consider the opportunity cost, that had you not used your own premises, had you used a rented premises, what would be the expected rent? Find out, again average it to per hour, and whatever time you have spent in this particular work, add that average per hour rent. So you even include notional cost. So costing golden rule is this: any expense, real or notional, even losses which are attributable. And what losses are attributable? Normal losses. What expenses are attributable? Both real and notional, both. So whatever is attributable is going to be added. That is what is cost. That is what is costing. I hope you understood this. Students, this is the whole basic first chapter. Yes, there are some more definitions, but those definitions either are based on what we discussed or they are the one which are actually used in further chapters. So I don't want to just give them theoretically. Today, we studied around 12 concepts. All are defined, but now when you read the definition, you link it more. Now, let me give you one more last concept so that this entire chapter or this first part will be completed. That is, what is the meaning of management accounting? Just give me one more minute, student, then I'll answer your questions. What is management accounting? It is again simply accounting, which is what? Recording to reporting, right? Of what? Of data which is required for management. And what is management? We studied management is planning, staffing, directing, controlling, decision making. All this is management. So when you are recording and preparing reports of a data which is required for management work, like all this work, that accounting of the data required for management purposes is called as management accounting. So again, it is same like cost accounting. It is the recording, reporting of the data, but for what? For doing management. That is management accounting. Now, our syllabus is made up of all three: costing, cost accounting, management accounting. Now, the topics that we have exclusively for this, you have the topic called as integrated, non-integrated. This chapter is exclusively cost accounting. Then for costing, you have chapter of material, employee cost, you have overheads, and you have process, you have cost sheet. Now, all these chapters are costing. In this few chapters like process also involves cost accounting. And then for management accounting related, we have three chapters: standard costing, which is for the control function. We have budgetary chapter, which is for the planning and control function both. And we have the marginal costing chapter, which is for the decision making. So these three key functions of management: planning, controlling, decision making, they are covered in these three chapters of your syllabus. So this is how your entire syllabus of this subject is, relating to some chapters of only costing, some chapters of cost accounting, some are mixed chapters which is doing both. In fact, even material, many of these chapters are mixed. They are also teaching you costing, they are also teaching you cost accounting. And then exclusively three chapters dealing with three important management functions. Right? So with this, from my side, I've completed this. Now in next 5 minutes, I'll take up the questions if there are any. So Rohan is asking, how can we charge depreciation? See, but all these opportunity costs are indirect. That is, they are overheads. And for all overheads, as I explained at the start, we will be doing some averaging out. That you will study in the chapter of overheads. But simplifying it, I already gave you example of this. Like I said, now rent divided by the working hours, you get roughly rent per hour. Same thing is depreciation. Depreciation divided by the working hours, you get roughly depreciation per hour, and then you can multiply it, you can charge it for the number of hours you have used on this particular product or service. Somebody is asking, does cost unit means kg quantity? Yes, Anubhav. So cost unit is the quantity for which you will be expressing cost, which may be per kg, per liter, per can, per bag of cement. So the quantity expressed in kg, liter, can, bag, for which you have to express the cost is cost unit. You are right. Jaindra is asking, notional and imputed are same. They are same, but these are parallel English words. Notional, implied, imputed, all are parallel English words. Sir, what effect does inflation have on costing? Simple, beta. Abhisha. Inflation, as I was telling you when I was answering someone, that when we are doing costing for a future period, we always keep in mind the trend of inflation. We take the inflation figures and we inflate our prices accordingly to include it in costing. But as I also said, that if in between something has happened, we revise our cost for the next period. It is not that my cost once calculated will remain constant for the whole year. Even in between, we may revise it if some new normal happens. Correct? What is the connection between normal P&L and costing P&L? Good question, Omkar. See, when you prepare your financial books, the P&L that you are preparing over there is your financial P&L, it is your regular P&L. When we will study costing books, where we will prepare a separate set of accounts for costing, which is called as cost accounting, over there again we'll prepare P&L. That will be the costing P&L. So there are two separate books, two separate ledgers. One ledger of financial, which you have studied from 11th standard. Now here you will study another set of ledger accounts for the costing purposes, which is cost accounting books. There, the P&L is costing P&L. And yes, obviously, there will be difference because both are based on different workings and different logics. What is variable? See, I purposefully did not cover today fixed and variable because too much technical things may go bounce. But if you're asking me, I'll answer. Those expenses, not only overheads, any expense which will change with every unit, like raw material will change with every unit. The more you make final product, the more raw material you require. Similarly, all those expenses, direct or indirect, which will change with every unit you produce, with every unit of service you give, that is variable. Those expenses which will not change, like rent, whatever is my production, whatever is my number of clients I'm serving, my rent remains same, my depreciation remains same. So those expenses which do not change, irrespective of my change in output, are fixed. See, Anil, depreciation is not completely a finance cost. Depreciation is the cost that you have incurred for getting your assets. So had you not purchased these assets, you would have taken it on rent. Rent you will consider in a costing, then why not depreciation? Rent and depreciation, according to me, are at same footing when it comes to the logic. The only difference is rent is incurred when you have not purchased the cost, you are taking it on higher, and depreciation you incur for the same asset when you have purchased it and it becomes your own asset. Can I download my 2025 exam study module to take hard copy? Yes, you should. Except for tax, you can take download and take the printouts. Is the first chapter over? Yes, you can say so. First is over, Dharani, but it is not completely over because there are some concepts which I have purposefully left because I want to link it to the respective chapter when they come so that you'll understand them. But yes, definitely you should read the first chapter. If you feel something you have not understood, you can ask me in the next lecture. But that I have left out intentionally because it is relating to some future chapter. Yes, for the next class, when you come read with the second chapter of the next class. If you had attended online, offline paid classes which are not being incurred now, we be considered as notional. We had attended online, offline paid classes which are not being incurred now. See, notional has nothing to be whether it is incurred now or not. Notional is something which you never incur. It is which you presume that this expense is even without paying for it. That is what is notional. Fine. Sir, what is direct expense? But I have already explained. What is direct, indirect? Again, I'll repeat. Expense which you can easily calculate how much is required for our product. That is direct. What you cannot exactly calculate, like somebody asks, sir, how we will find out how much is depreciation required for my dinner, how much is rent required. You cannot find out precisely. You average it out. That is what is indirect. That is what is overheads. Valuation and working of owner is, yes, but what owner is doing, you have to find out the value of that. That is what is the opportunity cost. That is what is notional cost. Tell us which chapter you will be teaching, but that, Sumit, you need not get into. You come for every chapter, come beforehand. You have to prepare for all chapters, not only my chapter, because for understanding any class, if you come prepared for that class, that will be great. Depreciation is a loss, no, but it is not a loss. It is an expense. It is never a loss, but a depreciation. Next class, but our class schedules are fixed. I think it is Tuesdays and Thursdays. So class schedules are fixed. Thank you, Silesh. Sir, on module, there is cost type engineered cost. Okay. See, that's why I'm saying I'm not going into everything today because bombarding of too many things will take away what you have understood. So purposefully, I've kept something aside. Still, if you want to know what is engineered cost, so engineered cost is where you can do a simple 1 plus 1 is equal to 2 calculation. So the cost which have some calculation logic where you can precisely calculate it like how engineers do, that is engineered cost. Where you cannot precisely calculate, because it is not 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. Like mainly in case of notional costs and so many other costs, they are not engineered costs. How many copies are to be maintained? Anubhav, I did not get your question of how many copies are to be maintained. What copies you will maintain? I didn't get the question, but sir, abhi study material पढ़ सकते हैं ना? Definitely, Nandini, you have to study material of today's class. That is first chapter, and when you will come, you'll study for the next class. So Priyanka had already answered this. On Tuesday and Thursday, when you have this class, I'm just, for example, talking about this class. After the class is over, you will just recall whatever we discuss in the class. You will study the module, you will take out your personal notes. At the end of this week, on the weekend when you have no classes, you have free time, you'll revise whatever you studied in this week. This will do for every subject, every chapter, so that you are always in touch. So one you'll do immediately before and after the class, which I had already said. And then the second is you will do on the weekend. Sir, what do we do in process of charging? But a process of charging, Shreya, is what we just did. We identified the cost and we started adding the value of that cost. So this process of finding out the value, calculating the value and adding it in your cost sheet is what is technically called as charging. So charging is a technical word for calculating and adding the cost in your cost sheet. Sir, as per account, depreciation is a loss, but I don't think anywhere account says depreciation is a loss. Please understand this. How can depreciation be a loss? It is part of the price of your asset, which you are apportioning to this year. It is just you have already paid the entire cost and now you are apportioning. This is the difference between any capital expenditure and revenue expenditure. Capital you incur at the start and then you just apportion it because you are using that asset. Revenue, you keep on incurring and you keep on adding in your costs or you keep on debiting it to P&L. So, but saying that depreciation is a loss, I don't think anywhere in accounts, at least I studied that depreciation is loss. Depreciation is never your loss. It is only a cost which is already incurred. But then also the asset is created. How can we say it is a loss? Fine. Great. So I think we have had a great understanding and discussion on the basics of costing. Also, I try to give you a vision and approach. Please apply this. Be in touch with all your faculties for whatever doubts, challenges you are facing in study. Every faculty will give you a different approach. Some faculties approach, somebody will be suiting. For some faculty, somebody else approach will be suiting. So please follow every faculty's approach. Try and test it to your case. Whoever's approach matches you the best, follow that, because there is no one fit size for all in study. Fine? Excellent. So let us catch up again for the next class. You have to follow the schedule which is given to you for all subjects. Try to attend every class online live. Fine. Thank you all. Good day. Take care. Keep studying and follow the self-help approach, even in studies, even in life. Fine. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Okay,
Yes,
sir.
can close. Thank you. Take care.